Well, to Lebanon now, where the United Nations says tens of thousands of people have been displaced, driven from their homes by the Israeli air offensives that have targeted hundreds of Hezbollah positions in the country since Monday. Global Affairs here in Canada confirming that 2 Canadians in Lebanon are among the dead, prompting the foreign minister to once again call for rapid de-escalation in the fighting and making this statement today.
What I say to Canadians now in Lebanon, not only is it time to leave, but also commercial flights are still available. And it is, at the end of the day, the most safe and the simplest way to come back home.
Well, with more on the situation in Lebanon, we're now joined by Louis de Lorimier, who from 2005 to 2008 was Canada's ambassador to that country. Monsieur de Lorimier, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
You know, we heard Mélanie Joly, the foreign minister, once again calling for de-escalation between Israel and the militant group Hezbollah. But, you know, we've heard international calls for de-escalation when it comes to Israel and Gaza. That seems to have fallen on deaf ears. Are you concerned that no one is listening to these international calls?
Well, yes, I'm concerned. Obviously, a red line has been crossed during last weekend, and now Israel is intensifying its attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon. Of course, there are enormous diplomatic efforts by the U.S., by France, by the United Nations to de-escalate, but the tendency right now is to escalate. But it's not gone as far as a regional war yet. It's between Israel and Hezbollah, and that's been going on for quite a while. As a matter of fact, that started after the 7th of October last year, when the Hamas did this horrific massacre in Israel. So it's an escalation, but it's not a regional war at this time yet.
Not yet a regional war, but Canada and Global Affairs continue to urge Canadians to leave Lebanon. They're urging Canadians to seek commercial flights out while they can. But, you know, also this warning that Canada does not have any plans right now to assist with departure. At what point would that change, if at all?
Well, I'm surprised. But first, let me explain just a little bit. In 2006. The first thing, there was a war between Israel and Hezbollah, and the first thing that the Israelis did was to bomb the airport, so you didn't have the option of leaving by commercial flights. And this is when Canada and all other major countries started these evacuations. I'm quite puzzled by what Minister Joly is saying, that there might not be evacuation, because if the Israelis cripple the airport, I don't see what else can be done by the population, by Canadians in Lebanon to leave the country. You have to leave by sea. You have to go to Cyprus. And I heard that Canada was doing extensive preparations to do this. So I'm sort of wondering what's happening here.
Mm-hmm. So some questions. And you mentioned 2006, and of course you were very much involved in that evacuation. 15,000 people were able to leave with your help and the help of the consular team on the ground in Lebanon. But how difficult was it to coordinate that operation? Because to your point, if the government's not helping Canadians now, it would seem that would be more complicated down the road.
It's extremely complicated. You can't just tell people to line up and tell them to go on the ship and let the ship sail like that. You have to have a huge team here of specialists in immigration, for example, consular people, security, of course, people, Canadian Armed Forces. At one point, I think we had about 100 members of the Canadian government working on this, and that made it possible for us to evacuate so many people. You have to have a team in Cyprus, and in 2006 we had a team in Turkey, and so it's a huge enterprise and it costs a lot of money. But I wonder if we can just tell people to lay low and or find their own way, because this war could get very, very dangerous for Canadian citizens.
Well, dangerous, as you say, and already Global Affairs have confirmed overnight the death of 2 Canadians already on the ground. Also talking about another Canadian who has been asking for consular assistance because they were injured as a result of this conflict. So, Monsieur de Lorimier, I'm wondering if you were to advise the current government right now as to how to proceed in Lebanon vis-a-vis the Canadians on the ground, what would your advice be at this point?
Well, my advice would be to prepare for an evacuation. I've said before that I didn't think there would be an evacuation if the situation remained stable between Israel and Hezbollah. But it's quite clear. I think that the Israelis have almost completed their operations in Gaza. So they're turning now towards Lebanon and against Hezbollah, because they want to regain their own territory for their own people in the north of Israel that are being threatened by Hezbollah missiles and others. So I would recommend that we prepare for evacuation. And I heard that this was the case, that there was Canadian military personnel in Cyprus, for example, but we're not. Ottawa's not giving out the information now. Do they want this to become a surprise or something? I don't really get it. We did it in 2006, and I don't think we can refuse to do it this time around. The French and the Americans are preparing for this. Of course, they have assets, military assets in the Mediterranean. We don't, so we have to rent out civilian ships and things like that. But that has to be done now, and we can't wait until all hell breaks loose.
Monsieur de Lorimier, thank you very much. I appreciate the insight this evening.
Thank you very much.